Hello, Ellis.
You're obviously having a great time there. Although what you're doing, I have no idea.
All right, man. I tell you what, this is the best. I am very, very happy, man, here, folks. It doesn't happen very often, but guess what? We got Ellis back, and this is exciting for me, man. I'm telling you right now, I've been trolling amongst the waste by myself, which is, only so much fun you can imagine. So how are you doing, sir? You can lie. You can lie.
I'm doing fantastic, Stephen. This is the best year ever.
You're supposed to say fine, fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. That's the answer. Fine.
Well, I'm not neurotic or anything, but I am fucked up.
Well, I'll be your neurotic.
Okay, that's fine. Well, that's typical anyway, so nothing's changed.
Not a fucking thing. Welcome back, brother. How are you, though? For real, I'm glad to have you on here, man. Seriously, this is exciting. I know that it's exciting for everybody else too. So,
I'm terribly excited, even though I'm in the toilet. I'm fucking excited. Yeah.
Well, we can smell it from here, dude. I hear you.
Boy, that was original.
You kind of gave me that one as the layup.
Yeah.
All right, man. So real quick, why don't we just get started here, man? Life as an activist is a real thief, isn't it, man? It can really, really steal a lot from you.
Steal? That's an understatement, isn't it? you can lose everything you have. You can lose your ass and everything doing it. You know?
You lose your family, you lose your money, you lose your life, the whole enchilada.
Yeah.
And, we do it because we believe in it, but there's a heavy cost on the other end of it. And you and I are both, we're both the sad recipients of the friggin' hard luck award. And anyway, so why don't we take a minute, because this time of year is a bitch for so many. I mean, this is probably the hardest time of the year. And there's no time of the year that's even more important in my mind to talk about economics than this time of year, because it's based on consumerism. It's based on everything but what matters. And as you do hit rock bottom, and I can tell you, you and I mean, I've been at rock bottom. I know you're at rock bottom. We're both living down there, hanging out with those weird fish with the weird orb lights. Hanging out there. Trench. We're deep in the trench.
We're down there in the Laurentian Abyssal. Down there where former Soviet subs used to go to navigate. We're way down there.
The little doors on the forehead.
Yeah.
And there's big giant blind sharks and stuff like that. The giant squids. We're hanging out with Nemo.
Yeah. Down there. We are swimming down there, let me tell you.
Down. All right. So, one of the things that I think is interesting is, the more that things change, the more they stay the same.
That's a French saying. That's not interesting.
It isn't. The French have won up this year. I'm not going to get you into yellow vests because, quite frankly, mine doesn't fit quite yet. But the French have finally had enough of neoliberalism. The problem is they don't understand MMT. The worst part is that these fuckers in the Eurozone don't realize what giving up their monetary sovereignty has done to them either.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something right now before you finish that thought. The truth of the matter is that Brussels could get the fuck out of the way, all right, and the European Central Bank could just, these rules that they have in place over there because they did give up their sovereignty doesn't mean shit, because the truth of the matter is they could create policy to allow these people the ability to deficit spend. You understand? Yes. They're purposefully strangling all of these people, all right? It's policy. It's what you would call the the institutional framework of the European Union, or excuse me, of the European Monetary Union, is absolute bunk. It's inhumane, and they have every right to take the streets and burn the whole fucking country down. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting the way they treat people over there. But that is what happens when you give up your currency sovereignty and accept neoliberalism. Okay? That's what you see. That's the end result. And if people don't back off, that's going to be a worldwide, global phenomenon. Okay?
Yeah,
So it's time to get smart and just do the right thing. Yeah.
well, they genuinely don't understand. There is a dearth of European economists. I mean, there's a dearth everywhere. It's not like act like we've got like this massive, big deep well of good economists, but there is a true dearth in the EU. And in fact, I mean, even the one guy over there, Richard, last name slipping my mind off the top of my head here, but
that's a good last name.
Yeah, Richard. No, but I mean, it may as well be Richard. What's his name? Because I sat there and watched him talking up how bonds finance government, and I was like, guilt, and I was like, all right. Now I thought you were okay. I know now I'm not to probably share your stuff. But the fact is that right now in the United States, we're trying to advance a Green New Deal. This is stuff we've talked about since forever. Something to this effect, a massive mobilization akin to World War II. Mm-hmm. We talked about massive public spending. We've talked about all this stuff. In Europe, they're asking for basically the same stuff. Their laundry list is the same. Mm-hmm. Here in the United States, we're asking for it. And of course, the Democrats that play the filter, the punch man for the Republicans are already trying to cock block that with a bunch of procedural nonsense before it's even gotten started. Yeah. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hasn't even walked in the door, and every super lefty has decided she's a sellout. And so what you've got is, the ultra, I mean, like, I'm so cool that I can't be cooler. She's a sellout. Honest, she's a fraud. And and it's like, dude, she hasn't even sworn in yet. Cut her a break, man, before I drop this. It's ridiculous. But anyway, the point is that here it is. The people across the world, Europe, Australia, everywhere, the whole freaking world wants climate-related, green, renewable, green energy. They want green solutions. They want people and planet over profits. Mm-hmm. And everywhere we go, we're thwarted. We're completely given the heave-ho. And quite frankly, it's just a hardy band of regular people that are fighting for this stuff. The vast majority of people are still living on a bumper sticker. They still don't take the time to read. If you wrote a post, and you do, and I do, write a post that's more than 3 sentences long, you can almost see the whites of their eyes as they roll back into their head glazed over. They're like looking for a bumper sticker. They're jonesing for a meme. And it's like, some of these things just can't be unpacked in 2 or 3 words. And so this is the fate of our nation, the fate of the world, the fate of the climate. IPCC giving us 12 years to really, really get off the pot. And people just can't get out of their own way, man. And our governments, none of them are doing the damn job for us. What the fuck do we do, man? Seriously.
They aren't going to get a bumper sticker version because there's no such thing. All right? People have to do the homework. And the fact is that you can't just flip on Fox News or Rachel Maddow or whoever the hell else and get any real kind of information. That's not education, that's entertainment. I said this in a live stream last week. People have to do the homework. If you want change, you're going to have to work for it. You've got to work for it. You can't just sit there and say, give me a leader that'll just tell me what to think. This is ridiculous. All the information is out there that you need to know. It's easily digestible. It just takes a bit of time to read. And the fact is that you could get through one of my 6,000-word articles on treasury bonds in the same fucking time that it takes you to listen to Sean Hannity's mouth run for an hour, okay? Or Rush Limbaugh's mouth to run for 3 hours. You could digest 3 of my long works, or Bill Mitchell's blog, for fuck's sake, man. So let's get real. All right, you've got to quit being lazy. You got to do the homework. People got to do it. Can't have a bumper sticker. It's not going to happen.
It seems like that's about all that we're going to get there right now. And, the worst part, and I'm just going to, this is what we do. I'm going to punch. I'm going to punch hard. We've got certain people that try to take the voices of those who see this clearly and sit there and try to say, no. Stay over there. Let us. And the fact is the energy goes. And then the people start going, hey, what about that thing over there? And what about that? And all of a sudden the people start dispersing because they always fail to understand the thing that keeps the energy going, the thing that keeps the people sucked into the focus is that it's got to matter. And when people are dainty and the people are gentle and they want to do it one-on-one, everybody starts scattering as the subject gets too long and boring and it's done. The sheep scatter. They're like, there's got to be something to get in trouble with. And they just gone. And that's what you're watching. I'm dead serious. And it's a shame. It is a goddamn shame, but it's happening. I mean, the Green New Deal should be easy to latch onto. It's policy, it's politics, but there's economics that underwrite it. It should be easy to stay super focused on it. But they're not. They're not. They're focused more so on green enter. Got to join our party, or P enter, or this company enter, or you've got to join our little clique, our little teeny. I think back, I did this thing with Cyrus the other day. You remember the Warriors? Your little piece of turf, right?
Can you dig it?
They're just trying to want to have their like 300,000 in this corner. Let me have 300,000 in this corner. Forget the other 325 million in the middle. I just want to go ahead and have my little 300,000 over here, put my fist violently in the air and tell everybody they've got to join my team or there is no 99% because we represent the 99. No, we represent the 99. How about we represent the 99 and friggin' do it and stop this party shit? I'm dead serious. We don't have time for it.
Remember last year, back when times were better?
Oh,
when I talked about orphan politics.
Yes, this is it.
This is it again. It's coming back. It's a new version. We've got a new orphanage. It's the Green New Not deal, the Green Somewhat deal, the new Green over here deal. This is the Green New Deal for short people only.
Exactly. It is.
This is a Green New Deal for reform Democrats. This is the Green New Deal for people who like Nancy Pelosi still. This is the Green New Deal.
Like Bernie, you can only have this Green New Deal. Come over here. Our Green New Deal has a side order of dressing, and over here we have balsamic vinaigrette. But you don't mix balsamic vinaigrette with ranch. It'll taste nasty.
Yeah, these orphanages are big business, man. They don't do fuck all, but
yeah. And this is why I dig MMT, right? Because MMT, regardless of whether people get this or not, is the great unifier. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican, doesn't matter if you're LOL Libertarian, doesn't matter if you're Greenie or freaking vote blue sycophant or freaking pond scum red baiter. I mean, the bottom line is that it satisfies every niche of weirdness, every niche of radicalism, every niche of boredom and conservatism, every niche of everything. It just is. And that's the best part of it. Once you just get to is, you can say, all right, so let's do something.
The reason why is, first of all, MMT is reality. It describes reality. It's the way things work. And second of all, it's apolitical. All right. You can take what it implies, and a conservative can create a job program or what have you. A liberal can create what they want out of it. Policy prescriptions. Those are the political aspects. Okay. But MMT itself is apolitical. So it appeals to anyone who's interested in the reality of how currency works. Okay. So, it is the great unifier. The problem is that for years and years and years, people have made up stories based on mainstream nonsense, and you pick a side in orthodox economics. You either go with the laissez-faire asshats who say government can't do anything right and the market is sovereign. Or you go to the DSGE freakzoids who like to who like to divine the portent of omens, okay, of the economy by looking at the guts of models and feeling and seeing what the gods have to say about that. You can go with them, and in the end, it's all massive amounts of bullshit, okay, without modeling the economy with the national government as the currency monopolist, as Warren Mosley would say. There's no point in it. It's all fantasy, okay? And so people are going to believe what they want to believe. And their economics are based on ideology, as though their economics are opinion. It's political. And you can make the economy work any way you want, except that these far-right Republicans will tell you it only works one way, and the founding fathers gave us all the money we'll ever need, okay? Or the dollar came from God, And then you've got liberals over here saying, we agree that the government is broke, but we're somehow different than you. so it's all bunk. It's political bunk. It has nothing to do with reality, and MMT deals in reality, okay? And these people don't like reality because it upsets the little apple cart there. It makes them upset. Wangy. They're going to get wangy about the apple cart being upset. You mean to tell me that I can't? Yeah, I'm telling you, you can't. I tell you can't because you're killing people. Okay? You're an asshole. I mean, come on.
That's right.
Where's the dollar come from? Come from the moon. No, it doesn't come from my asshole. Watch this. Dollar. That's where I store my dollars in case of the next depression. I shove them up my ass. Oh, my crap. I mean, come on. So, I mean, it's just all fucking bunk. Admit it, it's all bunk. You know it is. And it's being used as an excuse. And the nasty thing about the orthodox economics of it all is these people are paid to desperately maintain, they're desperately trying, like Krugman, Ren Lewis, they're desperately trying to maintain the stranglehold of influence, their positions of influence, okay? They want to be the thing, right? And they're paid to say certain things, okay, that are complete bullshit. And the fact is that neoliberalism, for the most part, has taken control of orthodox economics altogether. All right, this may not sound like it makes sense, but it does. Trust me. It's basically propaganda. It's neoliberal propaganda. Even if the economists themselves don't fucking realize it, they're spouting propaganda for neoliberalism. That's all it is. All right.
Steve Hale was just talking the other day. He said he wouldn't mention the guy's name, but he is in a conversation with a known Orthodox economist out there in Australia. Mm-hmm. And he had a conversation with him, and he got the guy to basically see what he was talking about. And the guy goes, I'm not talking about this. I want to just retire. And
yeah, of course he does. Of course he does, because he lives in a cloister.
And hearing the truth. Yeah. And this is this is the deal. And what is we were in I wouldn't call it a fight, but you know how it goes. One of these guys who is just the typical, hey, whatever these blue people say is okay with me, man, kind of gang. And we dropped that how Bill Clinton's, surplus destroyed the economy. Mm-hmm. And it has the great Kelton quote where it breaks down the sectoral balances of what Clinton did and how the economy had left and went into surplus and how it we're still living with the destruction from Bill Clinton. And all they could do was say, well, Ronald Reagan started trickle down. And what about W? He did this. And it was like, this is really seriously what you've got, because you got Count Krugula saying his nonsense.
Count Krugula, yes.
You've got nonsensical Bobby the Hitman Reich sitting there dropping dimes and talking nonsense the same way. And he's got all the boys going, ooh, Robbie, because he seems like such a nice, gentle elf. But the reality is that Robbie the Elf Reich is sitting there talking neoliberal garbage too. And so all these people are, well, if it's true, then how come they keep saying this? How come they keep saying this?
They're not God.
But
They're humans. Maybe they're lying their ass off for a reason.
and there we are sitting there having these discussions. And I'm like, listen, here's the beautiful thing. This is no joke. Sectoral balances aren't political in any way, shape, or form. Private sector, public sector, rest of world. You don't even have to know what party I'm from. Just lay the freaking numbers in there. Tell me. You tell me. And they're like, well, surplus, they have all that extra money. Wrong. And this group, you remember the bozos from back in the day who kept talking about, well, taxes do fund spending. And they got Mosler to talk about some cash transfer between the what do you call it? The Federal Reserve banks. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. And see, that proves it. That proves it. and you completely, as usual, per the usual, missed the entire point. But this is the way. It's like they're looking. It's like, are you actually even trying for a new deal? Or is your whole purpose in life to literally lift your leg, pinch a steamer on any kind of progress possible? Because that's exactly all you get from these people. No joke. That's it. There is no hope. There is no value. There is no purpose. It is just, let me see if I can derail any possibility of you ever smiling again on this planet. If I can make you suffer, then I've achieved my goal. And that's all I get from these people. No joke. And so it comes, in my opinion, from the false scarcity narrative from Bobby Reich. Oh, yeah, Trump's bankrupting the nation with this. Krug, oh, my goodness, this is an evil thing. My God, the country is just floundering in deficits. And
deficits only matter to Krugman. Okay, Krugman deficits are only important depending on who's in the White House. Okay, see, the deficits work differently depending on who's in the White House. Okay,
exactly.
That's magic. That's fucking Middle Earth economics. That's Gandalf the Grey in the Eye of Mordor. That's ridiculous. Come on, a deficit for some reason, somehow mathematics. The rules of math cease to exist, and they change depending on who has the White House.
That's right.
And he's selling this shit, and people are buying it, hook, line, and sinker too.
Like you wouldn't believe. Okay. So, all right. So we here's the problem. We've gotten, like, Facebook has done some horrible things to the algorithms. They kind of unleashed the gates for us for a little bit. We got back up over.
Unleashed.
And I'm drinking coffee. So,
bullshit. I know there's Jack Daniels in there, so shut up. That mug's big enough to hold a fifth of Jack. Don't start with me.
Well, if it was, it would be one. It would definitely be to kill you, and you'd know it before long. But in any event, the folks are really dying. I mean, I'm watching people literally suffering, and every time I think I've got it bad, and folks, I've been unemployed since August. Okay, I want to just keep it real. I've been unemployed since August doing this gig and trying my best to make this thing work and trying to keep it going because I feel like the mission is worth whatever sacrifices, except for my family, and my home and stuff like that. But, sometimes you don't have that choice. But here we are watching people as we go into the season. And it was unseasonably warm out here in Pennsylvania, but it's going to get very, very cold, very, very fast. And there are many, many homeless. I mean, I think there's some 80,000 homeless in LA. I think there's even more. I think there's huge tent cities in San Francisco where it does really get cold. You've got tons of homelessness in the South still. All sorts of homelessness everywhere. We haven't even come close to addressing poverty in this country. We haven't done anything to address what happened in the last time we had a global financial crisis. And it looks like by all intents and purposes, when you look at the sectoral balances today, you see that the student debt is hovering at 1.5 trillion right now. $1.5 trillion in student debt. And that alone, plus the private debt that is building up in the back end as we've tried to keep this economy afloat because the jobs didn't start paying more. It's not like you're going out there and you're suddenly making $10 an hour more than you made in, whatever. I mean, the jobs are actually paying less in many cases. A lot of them are gig economy type jobs. Ellis, this kind of non-spending on the people, it's going to result in recession. I mean, what are your thoughts here? I mean, what can the people do?
What can the people do about this?
Yeah, I mean, all I can think to do is get them to mobilize and talk to one another and stop getting freaking distracted and stay on point.
Well, if they really give a shit about the issues that they're talking about, like, the Green New Deal, for instance, if they really give a damn about that, they're going to have to unify. And what the fuck do you care how? Look, if you really don't know how to pay for it, or if you're going to sit there and say, look, we got to tax the rich before we can do this, it's clear you don't know how to pay for it. Okay, so like I said last year, I think Fadel Kaboub said something about this on Facebook just today. If you don't know how to pay for this, get out of the way so that those of us who know how to do it can take care of this issue. It's true. If you don't know how to pay for this, if you think the rich are going to pay for it, if that's the way we've got to do it, then you need to move aside, all right? And just support the movement itself and let the people who know what the hell they're doing take care of the issue of funding, okay? I know how to fund it. Mosley knows how to fund it. Fidel knows how to fund it. Kelton knows how to fund it, all right? We know what we're talking about. Everyone in the MMT community knows how to fund this damn thing. So if you just get behind the movement, be satisfied that you're out there with your fist in the air supporting. Let's all unify around that, okay? And let the people who know how to pay for it, all right? This traditional tax and spend bullshit's got to stop because it's not the way money works, okay? The government is not broke. The government is the source of the money that will fund it. That's where it comes from. The people do not fund the government, all right? Hey, how many times have I said this? I'll say it again. You do not fund the federal government. The federal government funds you, okay? All right. So the federal government is also the entity that will fund the Green New Deal. Every last penny. It just has to spend. All you need is a Congress that says fund it. And guess what? It's funded. Okay, it's the dollars are appropriated, and it's Treasury punches some numbers, credits bank accounts, the Federal Reserve credits reserve accounts, so those payments clear, and that's the end of it. No tax dollars, because there's no such thing as a tax dollar at the federal level. So get your asses out there, unify, and look. This is. You'd think that after 40 years of saying we got to tax the rich to pay for this, and it's never worked. What makes you think this? Well, this time, if we get enough people, we get people in Congress, then we can lift our pitchforks and Congress will say, tax the rich. Great that you want to tax the rich, but we've got space to work with. So what if we did great things right now, okay? And we tax the rich afterwards, okay? What if we solve the problem first? What if we stop the bleeding first instead of looking for the assailant? What if we did that first? What if we do great things right now and tax the rich later? Okay? What if you made the rich irrelevant? What if you shamed them to the point where no one listened to them anymore and everyone gave them the finger, which they deserve, and we went on about our business and the rich are screaming, oh, but we fund you. We're your providers. We give you your daily bread. Yeah, fuck you. You're full of shit. Fuck off and go swim in your pool and drown. All right? What if people treated the rich that way and the rich could not wrest control anymore of the mind of the public? They're irrelevant. The best way to do that is let people who know how to fund this Green New Deal lead the charge. We'll take care of the funding. You guys enjoy your universal health care. You guys enjoy your renewable energy. Enjoy the job guarantee and tuition-free college education, okay? For fuck's sake, do you want a solution? Or do you want revenge first? Make up your fucking mind. Get the fuck out of the orphanages. Close the orphanages down. Close them down. You have a family. The fuck are you doing? Your family is the progressive movement. It is the American New Left. It is the international New Left movement. This is your family. Get the fuck out of the orphanages. Quit pretending like you have no family. Come home and let's do this thing. For Christ's sake.
Woo!
I think I woke the kids up from the garage. That's why I'm out here again. Because the kids are in bed and they'd hear me doing this. Oh, well. Terrible. It's like it's my ass again.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about since we got you on the air, you've laid out this stuff forever. I mean, you've been writing now for how long? How long have you been putting MMT work out? 6 years, 7 years?
Well, since I retired. It's been longer than that, but where I began accelerating, where I began literally taking all my free time, about 7 years. Yeah, 7.
7 years you've been writing Lord of the Rings each day for these people to read. So
yeah, in the last 2.5 years, I've written a total of 2,700,000 words, but not all of it's published. But it's in OneDrive, in Microsoft OneDrive. So yeah.
The point is, there is more than enough information out there. People just have to literally go. I mean, if it's tough to read, I get it, man. I have struggles. I went out. I don't have any money, but I sprung some money the other day and bought myself a pair of $2.99, readers, just so I can start reading a little bit more, because I've gotten so used to just answering that I put some of my reading on the back burner, and I've got a stack of books I'd like to dig into. But you've written so much stuff. You've given freely of your time. You have helped so many learn MMT. So many people that come to Real Progressives have said point blank, hey, I learned, MMT from listening to Ellis and Steve. And then they even go the step further and say, but I really like Ellis. And so it's like, I mean, look, for real, this is important stuff here, man. I want to make sure that you get the credit you deserve. You're not sitting there in the ivory tower. You don't get to go out there on big talk show host sites and stuff. You've got people that have been trying to teach MMT for 15 minutes in front of these big audiences. And here you are, been doing it for all this time. And it's important that people understand where so many have learned MMT from. And where you've put your life, your time, your effort, your expertise, all the stuff that you've done to give back to the activist community, to regular people, not the friggin' ivory tower, but to regular people. You've dedicated your life to helping them. And this is a really big deal. And I want people to really, really know it. And I want you to know it from me to you, how important it's been, your role in my life, how much you've meant to me, and how much you've meant to this entire movement. Because I can tell you, you and I both have been looking at MMT for a lot longer than most of the people that follow us. And we remember, I know we've talked about it, when it was cloistered in little rooms of 3 or 4 people that were hardy bands that were debating the finer points of, balance sheets and stuff like that. But they weren't actually there was no real fire energy like has come out of the Bernie camp and out of this progressive movement. And we've been able to energize the activist community, and people have gotten the idea in their head they can build a better mousetrap, and they go off and try and do their own thing and create Joni Loves Chachi, and that's fine. We're happy days. And the bottom line is that you have done so much work. I want to make sure people recognize it. I want to make sure people know where to find it. And I want you to know how much you're valued, because you're valued whether you get the credit or not, whether somebody moonlights you or not. You are the best, bar none. I really appreciate your work, Ellis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is that I don't. Can you hear me, or is there like a?
Fine.
Okay. The truth is I don't mind large crowds. I could stand in front of 100,000 people and just do impromptu. But there's big talk shows and Tom Hartman and all that. I'm not interested in being on that. Never were. I wanted to keep it low key and just reach directly to the people, and that's what I started to do about 7 years ago. I just decided to take the case to people themselves, and I'm thrilled that it had great success. Not for myself, but that people would actually take what is normally a bland, dry subject and take such a great interest in it, and understand that there's life-saving properties to it, and there's hope inside there. MMT is genuine hope. But anyway, I don't really need credit. I've never been a credit hound or anything like that. But your words mean a lot to me, and thank you very much. I mean, it means a lot to me, especially at this time, considering what I'm dealing with and what I've given up to teach. It's definitely going to be hard, but I keep going, and
That's right.
I'll stop talking when I die.
That's
And
right.
then, hopefully, what I've written can carry on after I'm gone. But wait, I better say right. No, I don't have a terminal illness. No, that's not what I meant. I meant I'll stop talking and teaching when I die, or that's what I meant. I didn't mean I have a terminal illness. But you see, now you've caught me in this other Ellis side. I'm known
Yes,
for
I
this.
did. Didn't I?
So now, so now you've got me on my Zen, like, Buddhist type thing where I'm too humble to accept that sort of stuff. And I'm at a loss for words except
We're gonna go with verklempt.
yeah. I'm verklempt. You got me all verklempt there. All right.
But let me say this to help you out a little bit, because I did want to put you on the spot. I really do a little bit, because
who the fuck are you, Johnny Carson? What the hell?
Yeah.
Larry King, you're gonna do the Larry King thing for me now.
Yeah. No, but we had a long run, and we both have been through hell and back, and we had.
I haven't been back yet. I'm still in hell.
Well, no, but I'm saying, we talk stuff offline. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we had a long run, and it was a good run. It's the most powerful thing that I've ever done in my life, and the memories and the videos and all the conversations we've had offline, all the teachings you've given me. I've learned more from the combination. I learned boatloads from Warren Mosley. Let's just be fair. Learned boatloads from Bill Mitchell.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Learned massive amounts of stuff from Randy Ray. Learned from Fidel. Learned from Stephen Hale.
Yep.
Learned from Stephanie. Learned from Pavlina. Learned from all of them. Rohan, the whole gang, right? Everyone, Fulweiler, you name it. But when it came down to it, they were orphan ideas a lot of times. There was moments where, trying to understand, have you ever seen what a dollar is? And, it got me trying to debate what money is. And I don't know what money, what is a dollar? I don't know. I guess I haven't seen a dollar. Isn't that a piece of paper? No. And then, is it that it's an inch? No, it's not an inch. A pound? No, it's not. What is it? It's a unit of measure.
Yeah.
But that whole spinning of there, if you don't have the whole picture, it's like just some orphan idea. Somebody had to pull everything together. And I had bits of it. I had most of it. I had enough of it to feel confident getting in front of a camera. But talking with you, made me really dream a better dream. It made me feel very confident in advancing a bold, apology-less vision. I'm extremely unapologetic in pushing to save lives. In fact, it's the courage to be that, not the courage to know MMT, because I've learned from them for a long time. So I want to be clear that I owe them everything. I wouldn't even cared about finding you had I not known from them, right? But once they tell you, why don't you check and see if Ellis Winningham will do a show with you? I think you guys get along just fine.
That would have been Payam Sharifi, wouldn't it?
It would be Payam. Payam was put me on for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a reason though why, and it's because you hit the human element. It was like you marry the econometric side that makes me understand what Warren and the rest of them are saying, and the simplicity of Warren's message, the simplicity of Randy's message, the depth of Bill Mitchell's message, and combine it all. And then you say, oh, and by the way, here's how people start to live with that information. So you are the one that, for me, Bruce Patrick, I want to give him props. I always give him props, and I want to make sure I give him props. He's the guy that dropped the golden, tab for me to wake me up. But you are the one that tied all the life and death stuff to it for me. I got to see what a job guarantee actually meant. Like all of a sudden I saw mobility for a domestic housewife that had been abused or had been kept, a kept woman. And all of a sudden she wants to get away from this situation. Now she's got real hope, real mobility wherever she wants with a federal job guarantee. She pick up tomorrow morning and she can be safe somewhere else. I mean, she can start anew. Anybody can. And the idea of people in Flint not being trapped and held hostage because they can pick up and leave and get clean water in Denver, all these things, these are ideas that came from you. And these are things that I integrated into my message that I've taken in my own way. But it all came from being able to tie those dots together through your message. This is the real value here, is that you span the most complex down to the greatest analogies, and you're able to blend it all in between. I think that makes you a truly special man. And the fact is that you are a little Buddha,
I am little. Okay, I am short, but I am tall. I am taller than Robert Reich. Okay?
Yes, you are.
But Buddha, I no. No.
Just because I got the belly of a Buddha doesn't mean I am one, right?
I don't have one at all anymore. I used to, but now I'm like I'm thin. I'm very thin now. Much thinner than I were several weeks ago. But I'm not a Buddha. No.
Well, just let's keep it real though. I
lost 20 pounds and I'm not a Buddha. There, I kept it real.
What is gratifying is to see the waves, the ripples of people that have come through the doors of RP, that have heard you and I work together, and I'm sure that have heard me and that have heard you in our own different ways, and watch that ripple go. What bothers me sometimes, and I'm just going to be honest with you, and I think it's good to say on the air because I think people really need to know this shit hurts. And when people try to act like now all of a sudden they've graduated and they forget where they came from. And it's like, we have a role in this thing, and we go about it in a certain way because we're penetrating a certain crowd that would otherwise be left behind, that would otherwise have never been talked to, would have been ignored, would have been taken for granted. And because we've been able to roll the bowling ball down the alley and hit the pins where they are, we've been able to create a lot of energy down here. Now, people, I think it's only fair that they acknowledge where they got that from. And it's not a matter of looking for credit. It's a matter of not diminishing the hard work and sacrifice, because this is an organization at Real Progressives. It's not just Steve and Ellis. There's 100+ volunteers in the background. So when people try to distance themselves from RP, act like they're above RP, act like they're above this guy, that's a level of disrespect that I want to call out. I'm not going to call anybody by name. There's no point in it, but it's just, remember where you came from. I mean, you always are telling me, Bill Mitchell, You never ever take credit for Bill Mitchell's work. You always point back to Bill Mitchell. When you hear Stephen Hale say something, you always give credit to Stephen Hale. When Warren Mosler has said something, you always give credit to Warren Mosler. When Fidel or when Fulweiler or when Ron or anybody, even myself, whenever somebody says, you give credit. Didn't you say, you don't sit there and say, well, let me say what I said. Let me act like I'm the great teacher. You come right out and you give credit where credit is due. Why is that such a difficult thing for people to do? I don't understand it. And it seems almost epic. It's like an epidemic of, let me go ahead and kick where I came from because I'm ashamed that I came from someone that wasn't polished from the ivory tower or something like that. I don't get it.
I really don't know. I mean, there could be many reasons why. Credit for me, someone crediting me personally, it doesn't bother me or not bother. Like if someone doesn't credit me, it doesn't bother me. But the reason why I say to do it is because it's the right thing to do. That's the number one thing. Okay, it's very important. It's the ethical thing to do. But number two, you're not Stephen Hale. You're not Warren Mosler. Okay. Now, I'm not talking to you, Stephen. I'm just talking to the people who do this. You're not Stephen Hale. You're not Warren Mosler. You're not Fidel Kabuk. You're not Bill Mitchell. Okay. You're not Stephanie Kelton. You're not Scott Fulweiler. All right. You're not Steve Grumbine. You're not Ellis Winningham. If you've quoted us, you need to credit us because that tells people who are wanting to learn more where to find that information. See, so if you credit Stephen Hale, people will look for Stephen Hale to learn more. Okay, and if you credit me, they're going to look for me so they can learn more. It's not because we're crediting so that people can become more famous. We're crediting so that MMT can spread like a fucking virus that you can't control. Okay? And the people who know it best, if you're quoting from them, or you're quoting from a great teacher or instructor, okay, or a great activist, you need to point people, this person said this, so that they can go directly to the source and learn more. Okay? You have no, if you're quoting someone, but let's say you're a person, you only have like 8 months of basic MMT in this, all right? And you quote Stephen Hale, but you don't say you do. It sounds like you're the one saying it. Okay, what are you going to do when someone comes to you with an advanced or an intermediate question? How are you going to answer that? You're going to Google it? Okay, that's not teaching. The best solution is to credit the person that you're quoting, okay, so that these people can go to them and get the information they're looking for. This helps knowledge spread, okay, and it helps solutions founded in reality to spread. It allows hope to spread. This game is not about fame and fortune. Believe me, I know. Stephen knows what I'm talking about right now. This is not about fortune. It's not about fame.
There's none of it, brother.
No. I mean, yeah, people know me in many countries. Yeah, I've appeared in ABC Australia. All right. That's not what I mean. What I mean is when you're deep into this, you're sacrificing your life and your family for a cause, and you lose it all. Okay, what do you think? It's not all cheesecake, all right? There's some really hard times associated with this work, and people have dedicated years and years of work to this. Okay, and at the very least, like I said, number one, it's the ethical thing to do. These people deserve credit for the work. But importantly also is you credit these people because they've given their lives and they have the knowledge. And they are the ones that are capable of spreading that knowledge further. So if you quote them, point people to the source so that people can learn more. That's the whole point.
I want to talk about Bill Mitchell for just a minute. Bill Mitchell,
Excellent. Yes, yes, please.
when we first got started with MMT and learning it, I know for myself anyway,
Mhm.
Bill wasn't the first one I heard of. Warren was, and then ironically, second after Warren was Randy, and then third was Mike Norman, and then fourth bounced over to Kelton, and then I found Bill Mitchell. Actually, I found Roger Malcolm Mitchell, who I found out wasn't really MMT, but was MMT adjacent or something like that, with this sort of monetary sovereignty thing. Said a couple things that were really, really great, whatever. But then I met Joe Firestone and others throughout that process. But when I found Bill Mitchell, what I found was this is the guy when they were putting their Voltron of MMT together, when Warren was pulling his piece parts together, because this was once Mosler economics. Let's call it for what it was.
Mhm.
This was Warren's baby. He created this from scratch, and he brought these academics together, in Randy and Bill, and ultimately Kelton and Matt Forstater, and Matt, who we'll have on this show tomorrow night at 10 p.m.
I'll be watching that.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
He's one of the good guys, but these are in Fullweiler. I could just go on, and I probably should, but I want to be clear though that Bill Mitchell was the one that brought to the table the concept of the buffer stock of employment. He was coming up with the MMT job guarantee, because there have been many job schemes, coming from Michael Koleski, from, you even had some concepts of job guarantee through Martin Luther King Jr., who had piggybacked off of other groups, and you had obviously you had Minsky calling for some form of full employment, and you had various people throughout history calling for various things. But what really started this thing was Michael Koleski's school of full employment, which is what gave Bill Mitchell his concept with the coffee and the center of full
For full employment and equity.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very much.
Okay.
And but Bill Mitchell doesn't get nearly the credit he deserves for the job guarantee. If Fidel has taken this work at Global Institute of Sustainable Prosperity, as well as that, and so has Pavlina over there at Levy and Bard. Obviously the whole gang takes this, and Warren with the transition job, which is where this all started, was kind of provide a buffer stock, which is not a term they like to really use per se. And they don't like using employer of last resort anymore for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But they, the obvious idea was to create a transition job, which provided for, a superior automatic stabilizer that literally kept the economy in good shape. It literally kept it pegged to the labor standard, so to speak.
It mitigates the business cycle. It mitigates the negative effects of the business cycle, and it allows for a more positive impact on output, which is very important. I mean, instead of ending up in a recession and waiting for politicians to deficit spend correctly, instead of letting automatic stabilizers take, hold and whatnot, and slowly begin this creeping recovery, when you're having a creeping recovery like that, output suffers. And when output suffers, that pushes the nation further back in time. You can't... It was the last week I brought this up at the end of my universal healthcare live stream. I talked about lost output. You cannot get it back, all right, because it requires time. And if like I said, let's say the iPhone was invented, you look at the year that the iPhone was invented and released, okay? Imagine if that iPhone was released 10 years earlier. How much further along would we be in cell phone technology? Okay, that's just an example of what I'm talking about. If you had maintained full employment, okay, and the government had been deficit spending for the public purpose and doing the right thing in 1970, let us say, we'd be much further ahead today than we are at present. We'd be much further ahead, okay? And that's the point, is the output. When you have every time you have a recession, you get some lost output. The job guarantee mitigates that. It allows for a more positive okay, impact on the output thing, okay, helps bring output back up faster, see, because you've got more people working. You know, it mitigates the problems associated with the business cycle. It acts counter-cyclically, and it is superior in every way to any automatic stabilizer. Creates price stability, okay? It abolishes involuntary unemployment. It fundamentally modifies the economy because it puts it on stable ground for the first time, all right? It doesn't interfere with market wages, okay? It doesn't mess with that structure. It just simply says, here is the lowest wage that this nation will tolerate. And it sets that as the base wage. And every business has to meet that base wage because it's impossible to hire workers out of the pool unless you pay them more or equal to that wage, you know, with benefits. You have to pay equal to the job guarantee wage, or you're not going to be able to coax people out and get help with production. All right. So wages may go up, you know, depending on what level you set it. So if you set it at $20 an hour, Target, Starbucks, all these people would have to pay at least a minimum of $20 an hour. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time finding help. Okay, you're not going to be able to hire them. So yeah, but it doesn't go up and affect market. It doesn't, like, the government doesn't compete with market wages. It competes with the private sector for jobs. If the private sector does not want labor and it's set it aside and says, well, we don't have any use for it, that's not an excuse because the market's not in charge. The government is. It's the currency issuer. It's the currency issuer's job to buy up all that labor that's free and unwanted and pay it a decent wage and put it to work full-time on social production, doing things that are socially useful. It keeps them working. It keeps them current in their skills. They can even learn skills, new skills, while they're in the job guarantee. And when, you know, the economy starts to rebound and production starts to go up, production demands go up, and employers need employees, they go to the job guarantee pool and they hire from them. Okay, but like I said last year, Stephen, I think we talked a lot about the job guarantee last year on the shows. I pointed out that the job guarantee, whilst it's not meant to be like a government job, like, you know, you get a job at the IRS, you know, and it's a permanent job, it can be a permanent job for some people. You don't have to leave it if you don't want to. Maybe someone will prefer to work their entire life in the job guarantee because they feel that working for benefiting the community is more important than, you know, becoming someone who's well-to-do. You know, I mean, maybe that's what they want to do. I can't hear you at all.
I bet you can hear me now.
I can hear you now. You forgot to turn your cell phone.
Yep. So let me just say this.
I told you folks that coffee mug that he has there is filled with Jack Daniels. Don't believe him.
Now I want to take this back though to Bill Mitchell though for a second because you know, Australia, you know, is not considered Australian exceptionalism. So much of what happens that comes out of America is considered American exceptionalism. You know, we're saving the world. You know, you still got the idea of the strong chin, the flags, and you know, all the tree, you know, and everything. You see the block chin of the superhero, you know, and the cape waving in the back. You know, Superman. Yeah. And you know, I know that it's gotta suck to be the guy who created the job guarantee and not be, you know, not really be the one that they're saying, well, Bill, what do you think about the job guarantee? You know, and like Warren, who, you know, really was, you know, ground zero on this. It's like, hey, Warren, tell us about. And, you know, I think to myself, one of the things that's come out, and Pavlina recently came out and did a nice tweet storm about this. So I think everybody's on the same page, but I don't know that the people have heard this enough. And that is, the job guarantee is the base. We're talking about the wage floor. We're talking about it's setting the wage floor and the benefits floor that makes the private sector respond to hire people out of it, and to not conflate these higher skill career level jobs that the government has infinite means to pay for. There is no scarcity of dollars to pay for high quality teachers. There's no scarcity of dollars to pay for high quality scientists to discover the cure for progressive supranuclear palsy. Not to get too specific. They have the ability to create engineers that do the most incredible things that anybody we want to do. We could expand NASA. We could do whatever, and yet there's a group of people out there that don't quite understand what the job guarantee's goal is. And I want to differentiate. The government can do great things and have great career level jobs and have no problem whatsoever funding those jobs. And it can also have wonderful blue collar jobs, if we want those as well, that are not part of the job guarantee. They're separate. But the job guarantee has a specific purpose, and that is to act as a transition between unemployment and employed, as opposed to having an unemployed buffer stock of workers, right, to have an employed buffer stock of workers that are able to serve their local communities. I think it's just really important that people not try to turn this into the quote unquote high-end jobs guarantee.
Yeah, that's not what it is.
It's not what it is.
No, it's what you mentioned first was the unemployment buffer stock, which we've been using for 40 years now. That's the NIRU approach, the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment approach, where we deliberately keep a certain percentage of the population unemployed at all times. And then we're talking about the second one, where we use an employment buffer stock instead of an unemployment buffer stock. That's what Bill Mitchell terms the neighbor approach. Okay. And basically, the difference here is that the neighbor approach abolishes involuntary unemployment forever. Okay. This means that no one ever need fear being unemployed for any reason. All right. And it provides a transitional method for a person who loses their private sector job to enter the job guarantee at a decent wage with benefits, and to work in their communities doing socially productive, useful, socially productive work. And when they're able to find another private sector job, they leave the job guarantee for the higher paying private sector. But like I said a few moments ago, the job guarantee worker need not leave the job guarantee. They could stay there forever and make it permanent for themselves. But the job guarantee job is more or less transitional. That's the intent. It's like a safety net for people who lose their job. They transition from one job to another one instantaneously. You don't have to apply for work. You don't have to hope you get hired. You don't have to take a fucking personality test to get a job guarantee job. All you have to do is go down to the office, which will not look like the unemployment office.
Oh my God, Ellis!
Okay.
I'm out.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, you should. Folks, I want y'all to know this. Give you a few minutes. I'm sitting there texting with Ellis while I'm in the unemployment office. And if y'all have ever smoked Chiba before, and you all are sitting, you feel yourself melting into your body. You're just like melting, like putty. I'm sitting there in this place, and I'm looking around, and I see folks that obviously have given up on life. I mean, they're depressed. They're miserable. They're sad. That you can tell that they got hard miles on them. I mean, they've been out in the cold, out in the wind. They've been dealing with rough life, man. Miles and miles on those bodies. And I'm just sitting there and I'm watching people, and you just feel the depression and the lack of hope. And I'm already feeling beat up because I'm sitting there going, holy shit, man. I've got 2 master's degrees and I'm sitting here And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, Ellis, oh my God. I don't know what to do, man. I'm like ready to freaking blow my brains out. Oh my God, this is awful. And he's like, mate, just fight through it, do whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's what they do. They do it on purpose. They're trying to shame you. It's the way it is. Blah, blah,
it's meant to be a deterrent. You don't want to be there. And it also produces a stigma too. You feel like them people on welfare. It's meant to be a deterrent. You'd rather just not have any unemployment benefits, even though you do them. And you've earned that, right? You'd rather just not take them and go without an income and search for any kind of job you can get. And believe it or not, as soon as you encounter those right-wing Republicans, guess what they say? Any job is better than no job. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, as a matter of fact, they do. So
that's the idea. So
when I walked out back in, I guess it was September time frame, there were people that were close to me that were on my wall that said, oh my God, I am so sick of hearing him whine about unemployment, blah, blah, blah. Never mind the fact, that I've got responsibilities. I was a single guy. Man, there's like next to nothing I wouldn't figure out how to do on my own. I'd sell weed. I'd do something. I'd friggin', be a nude model so people could paint the fat guy, whatever. I do something other than, than grousing, but I can't. I've got a family. I've got huge responsibilities. I've got a life that was built on a career level job that I no longer had.
Yeah.
And so now, it's real easy. Well, just go, you can go ahead and why don't you just come on out here to Minnesota? We got jobs. Oh, hey, sure. Yeah.
I can just drop my mortgage, drop everything. And
never mind the fact that I've got a stepdaughter whose father's here and in custody and visitation of my other children. Never mind all that. But it was just this whole, you just go get a job. And the shame, the public humiliation. And then you go into these places and I'm sitting there. They literally cut my benefits off. Now, my benefits aren't due to end until February. I hope to God I'm working before they cut off. But the point is that they cut off just out of the blue. And then I called the number. Nobody would answer. It kept going, doo-doo-doo. The number you have dialed, error code 444.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, what the hell is this? So I go to the unemployment office and they've got these sheets of paper that say that you can only call in from Monday from 11 to 3, Tuesday from 11 to 3, and Thursday from 11 to 3. The rest of the time, you're foobar. There is no more other times. I'm like, you son of a bitch. So I'm sitting there, it took forever to get in there. And when I finally do get in there, to be fair, the people were very nice. They weren't nasty at all. They were very helpful. But when I had to explain to them why my benefits stopped and why I needed to retro them back to the middle of November, I felt like I was in trouble. I felt like I had done something wrong, like I was this bad guy. And I mean, it was like I couldn't even hide the tears, dude. It was like I didn't know whether I was going to rage. I didn't know whether I was going to bawl. I didn't know I was going to just freaking, just check out. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to. It was just that kind of level of fight or flight. I got to do so. I can't take this. And now it worked out. Everything panned out. But this is what the job guarantee eliminates.
Yeah.
There's none of that. That horrible, horrible existence that I just described will be eradicated forever.
Yeah.
And this has got me crazy because if you're going around looking looking at the office there, I know for a fact that automation hasn't made that office. They still have rotary phones and touch. Everything felt like I was, getting ready to go back to the future with Michael J. Fox. And, I was waiting for the leg warmers and friggin' Jerry curls and the Walkmans.
The guy that invented Jerry curls from the town I'm in right now.
No shit.
No shit.
But there's no way in the world that anybody's going to tell me that automation is somehow or another rendered this blemish of a life, this blemish of a country, this blemish of society. There's no way they're going to tell me that automation has suddenly made it so that all this work doesn't have to be done. Now think about this. The private sector, or even the state, hires workers to fix these things and make them right, and then maintain them on a regular schedule. Your buffer stock is going to shrink radically. You're not going to need a huge buffer stock if you just maintain and continually, improve as things go, whatever. They're not even talking like that. They're like, well, automation. I'm like, bullshit in the chef's salad. That's neoliberalism talking. Get that out of your mouth. Put it in the garbage. There's enough neoliberalism in the world. Progressives don't own neoliberalism. Leave it for the neoliberals. Let's get rid of that shit. But they keep bringing UBI back in. What the hell?
Of course they do. Of course they do. Because it has been 40-some years now since we had full employment. Okay? If you look in America, I'm sure, I know for a fact Bill Mitchell has written about this because there's books that he's written and there's blog posts that he's written and papers he's written on the Australian full employment that was finally ended. Okay? In America, it's a similar story. If you go back to 1972, look at the Democratic and the Republican Party platforms, you will see a guaranteed job for anyone who is willing and able to work. Both the Democratic and Republican Party, okay? But ever since then, in the age of neoliberalism, we have shunned full employment while still demanding that people work. Okay, so basically what we've done is we've decided it's a really good idea to force people to go out and look for jobs that aren't there. Okay, that's what we do, all right? And you remember, Stephen, that we stigmatize people on welfare and people that get TANF payments and all that, okay, in America. When it comes down to providing a job, people would rather give people a handout. They'd rather just give them cash payments than do anything that would provide a job. Because the end result is this. Full employment means the end of the business leader, the financial leader. It means the end of capital's dominance of labor. It can no longer use unemployment to threaten workers. It can no longer use unemployment to suppress wages. Okay? They all know it. The average person on the street who says, no job guarantee, UBI, they're listening to people who actually know that providing a state of perpetual full employment would mean doom for capital's control over labor. And they will say and do anything, including handing people $2,000, even $3,000 a month if you want. We'll just give it to you. We'll give you a universal basic income. Here, anything. Just don't demand full employment. Don't demand job creation unless you let the market do it, because the capitalist wants control over that. And the reason why he wants control over that is so that he can suppress wages, so he can dictate the wage, okay? So that he can keep a worker down and threaten them with unemployment. As Kalesky said, to discipline his uppity workforce, right? Workforce gets a little bit uppity in their demands. The business leader wants to discipline them. What better way than threaten them with unemployment lines? There's two threats of unemployment. There's the social stigma, which is negative. Oh, so you're unemployed, are you, Stephen? Yeah, I see that. You lazy, freeloading, no good sack of shit, right? And two, there's the economic terror. How am I going to pay my mortgage payment? How am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Where am I going to find another fucking job? Well, if you don't want to be in that position, Stephen, you better play ball and accept the capitalist demands. Or else. You see, that's what that's all about. And as long as there isn't full employment, the capitalists can't do that. All right? And here's the reason why. Because if you have a state of actual full employment, if you had a job guarantee where you could give your boss the finger and just join the job guarantee and have a guaranteed job tomorrow. Okay? If you could do that, there is no fucking way the capitalist could threaten you. I'll fire you, and there's 1 million people waiting in line for your job, sonny. Okay, fuck you. And that's it. It has no effect on labor anymore. Okay? It just doesn't affect. It's not a threat. It's not a viable threat. And in fact, it turns the demands back at capital. And it says, you will pay this wage here. You cannot go below it. This is the price floor. This is the wage price floor. You cannot pay lower than this. If you try and pay lower than this, or you want to pay lower than this, you have to leave the economy. Get the fuck out. You can't do business in the US. Bye. You can't do business in Australia. Bye. You're gone. Out of there. And do I care? No. If you're going to find a way to pay less than living wage, if that's what the JG wage has been set at, fuck you. Get out of my country. Go do business elsewhere. Okay?
So, I want to touch on this real quick. Jay Elias says, wasn't that a strategic plan that has been implemented in the past 40 years?
Yeah, it's called neoliberalism. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
So you were the one, and I want to give you another kudo moment here. Not too long though, because I want you to be able to talk about this. But you were the one that really, really helped me tie together what Milton Friedman did and what the lack of hope that came from his bullshit, basically, of, hey, you know, when times are good, you'll pay back the debt. When times are bad, you go ahead and take on lots of private debt. And if we don't have enough money in the economy, that's okay. We'll find a way to give you a negative tax and whatever, so we can expand capitalism even more. But you'll always be in private debt because fiscal space is dead. There is no more. There's no such thing as fiscal policy anymore. We're monetarist, and this is how it's done. Neoliberalism. Here you go, baby. And that right there shows why they spend on the military, but they don't spend on the people. They still are living in Milton Friedman's world. Can you explain the strategy in your typical Ellis fashion so that people really, truly can understand what happened with Uncle Milty and why still?
That's my phrase. That's my
Uncle Milty. I'm asking you to do it, brother.
Yeah. What do you want to know? What the strategy was, where it came from, what happened?
I want you to describe, and this is going to take us to midnight, and we've been on here for almost 2 hours. So I don't know. That's the old days, man. We never go this long. It's good. It's worth it. I'm drinking coffee. It's not scotch, but but no. Explain what. The lie. First of all, explain Milton Friedman's lie. Explain the bullshit with the research and the faulty lies that he based all his.
Are you talking about QTM?
I'm talking about the whole thing, because he used all that to, in turn, really, really put the cock block on fiscal policy, and we have never recaptured it since. I mean, Lyndon Johnson. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go for it.
With the quantity theory of money thing. Basically what he tried to do with his little pal Anna Schwartz was he tried to fix, it's really difficult because here we're getting into econometrics. Okay. That's, but the best way to put it is this way. He tried to rig the data and rig the charts that he was using, to make it look as though velocity of money was constant or more or less constant. Right. And they basically were pretty successful at it, but they got called out on it. And funny, nobody listened. Very few people listened. There was a great paper written about that. And it took forever to get that thing published. But the thing was that the reason why the velocity of money had to be constant for Friedman was so that his little gimmick would work. M times V equals P times Q. The supply of money times the velocity of money equals the price level times output. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with this expression until you start fiddling with the variables and turning the variables into constants. Okay. So if the velocity of money is constant, all right, and we're constantly at full employment, at maximum output, no matter what, we're at full employment, which would be Q. Then if M goes up, the money supply, the only thing else that can go up is the price level. So if the supply of money goes up, inflation always happens. Okay, it's always going to be inflation. And so he tried to rig the data on that. Yeah. He tried to rig it really to make the velocity of money. But here's the truth. I don't know if you can see my finger, but Friedman's little thing of velocity looked like this. It was a very, very constant line like this. But in reality, the data that he used went like this. It was nowhere near. It looked like an arrhythmia on an EKG. You know what I mean? Friedman smoothed that line out. Now, he did it was he widened it. See, the gap was actually narrow in the band that they were measuring it. Friedman deliberately widened it so that it would smooth out the rough edges. You know, I mean, and the reason why was for ideology. He wanted to bring back the classical period into a neoclassical revolution called monetarism. And believe it or not, America is not where this crap started. The truth is it started in the Labour Party in the United Kingdom back in the 60s and spread this way. That's as unbelievable as that sounds. You know, Friedman was getting his little hooks into things over there. But you got to go back even further. You go back into the 50s, right after World War II. It's because of FDR's little, his CCC and all of his WPA and all his programs and everything. The business leader lost a lot. God, that's just a frightening thing. Help! God,
he's smiling upon you.
Of course he is. Right there, right there. Anyway,
center stage for just a minute.
Shit. Anywho, so anyway, you go back into the 50s there, and the business leaders and all the captains of industry really pissed off because all that full employment, right, and all those programs really did a number on what, the profits and everything, because they were having a heyday back in the 20s, and World War II comes along, and then World War II ends, and there we go again. Things are booming and stuff, but damn it, they want control back. They're tired of this. And you even had the Republican Party in America telling people, making posters saying, don't forget to go to your union meeting. Okay? They couldn't handle these unions anymore. And then, you had Jimmy Hoffa coming along, and he's making a big stink, and he's making problems with the Democratic Party, and Bobby Kennedy went, yeah, Jimmy Hoffa, and Jimmy Hoffa going, yeah, you fucking prick, and all that crap was going on. And the business leader said, we want these unions out the way. We want full employment, the neck of full employment to be broken. It has to be. We are tired of having to meet these goddamn labor demands. We want control. We want it back. And the hope is through the classical view of economics. Well, here comes Friedman. I'm going to deliver. Fuck you. A bald-headed freak. Look at that ugly fuck. Anyway, the Friedman comes along, and you got the Chicago School of Economics, monetarists. And basically, he's their savior. He's the propaganda minister for the business leader. And so the age of neoliberalism arises in the 70s, late 70s, in America, that is, when right about the time Reagan is elected, he starts spouting off all this Friedman nonsense, and you start hearing about the supply side stuff. It's a separate issue, but you start hearing about that. And the whole agenda was to break the neck of full employment, to bust unions, so that wages could be suppressed, because the business leader was sick and goddamn tired of sharing the national income with labor. He wanted to steal it for himself, and they did. And that's where we were talking, I don't remember, maybe it was last year on one of the streams, we were talking about how the Democratic Party is trying to sell the idea that tax cuts for the rich is the reason why we have vast wealth and income inequality. And the truth of the matter is, the reason why we have vast wealth and income inequality is because we no longer have policies of full employment. We no longer have unions. We have wage suppression. And wage suppression redistributes national income the wrong way. It takes away from the worker's share and gives part of the worker's share to capital. So capital derives a greater share of GDP. And the more you suppress wages, the greater that share is that goes to capital, and the more labor share gets stolen from it. And then, when you can't figure out what the fuck to do, you can't suppress wages any further, what do? Well, now you do underemployment, where you only offer part-time work. And you start redefining what full-time is. Well, now it goes from 40 hours to 21 hours. That's full-time. But it's at such a ridiculously low wage, it's meaningless. Guess what's happening? Even more of the worker share of GDP gets going to capital, all right? So now they're amassing most of the capital is amassing most of the national income for itself. Then you give them a tax cut on top of that to let them keep more of what they stole. See that? All right.
So take 2 seconds here and just back us in. I'm keeping, well, I guess he's over here now. So Uncle Milty over here.
He's over here on me.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my angles. I think I got it right here. Uncle Milty down there in the bottom corner.
Yes.
He kind of skewed this whole thing so that, we were able to hide away as the wealth gap grew. Because ultimately, in order for us to have anything, depending upon the ebbs and flows of the economy, we were heavily dependent on private debt. And so, somebody's collecting the interest on that debt, right? And it's not banksters. I mean, you got payday lenders and you've got all kinds of credit cards and you name it, automobiles at stupid interest rates and whatever. These guys are making money hand over fist. And so naturally, if you're paying 25% on a loan for something that would have cost you whatever, instead of 125%, it's cost you. Well, actually, if you think compound interest, it's crazy. But you start thinking about this, and it's like, I wonder why there's so much income inequality in America, or wealth inequality, as it were. A job guarantee prevents us. It's not the cure-all.
No,
it makes it so that we're not in a position where every decision we have to make has a gun to our head. I mean, when you don't have any choices, even a bad choice that includes shelter is going to seem like a pretty damn good bargain, even if it means getting gonorrhea or something else. I mean, you got to make a deal with the devil to get a roof over your head when you've got nothing. This is what I'm trying to say is you pushes you to do things you wouldn't otherwise do. And this is the dumbing down of America, the race to the bottom, destruction. And you see it at the state level in particular, where all the states are competing with one another. Like you just saw Amazon basically flirt and dangle some headquarters around New York City, fancy that, and Washington, D.C., fancy that. Got the 2 new East Coast versions of Amazon, okay? Now, imagine when you look down at Texas as they dangle things. I mean, they're like the Germany, if you will, as they lure businesses down there with sweetheart tax cuts, and people end up without. But yet, Texas is growing like crazy. People are migrating there because that's where the jobs are. But it leaves vast deserts of people that are stranded and trapped without any options whatsoever. And this is a direct, in my opinion, it's a direct result of Uncle Milton's shit.
Right. It's a direct result of neoliberalism. Friedman played a major role in, an important role in it. At the School of Monetarism did, but now you got the neo Keynesian, the new Keynesian jackwagons and their DSGE. So, I mean, now it's all fucking it's a cesspool of shit now. It's a really fucked up, weird religion. Okay, but you know about the states competing. This is what happens when the federal government doesn't do its job properly as a currency issuer. Okay, It has to look out for the states. And the way it does that is ensures states of full employment, all right, and prosperous economies in perpetuity. And what it's doing, basically, if you consider the states to be dogs, say you put the dogs in the garage, okay? There's 10 dogs, let's say, all right? You have 10 dogs in the garage, and you only put enough food down on the floor for 5 of them. Eventually, they're going to start fighting for it, right? If you don't feed them and they get hungry enough, they're going to fight for that food. If you keep only putting enough food down for 5 dogs when there's 10 in the garage, you're going to have dogs fighting for it, and somebody's going to get hurt. Eventually, one of them's going to get wounded, a few are going to get wounded, right? So imagine 50 dogs in a garage and only enough food for 10 on a regular daily basis. Eventually, these dogs are going to go at each other's throats and compete for that food. All right? And, it's not a perfect analogy because, business can stand up there and go, so anyway, if you give us favorable treatment, we'll move everything to you. Food doesn't do that. Food just sits there and rots if you don't eat. But the principle is the same. The states are going to begin competing with one another. And that's hardly the United States of America. That's the Confederate version of America. You know what I'm talking about? States' rights with very limited government, no central government, states' rights. Well, it's not states' rights anymore. These are little nations. Little fucking nations now. There's nothing united when you got states competing.
No ability to issue currency either, by the way.
Right. They could they could have a couple of options, but they're not gonna overcome the US dollar because the government is still going to tax in the US dollar. So people are gonna have to convert. They're going to have to guarantee the conversion of their currency to the U.S. dollar. It's not going to work.
I want to touch on 2 things because we have great questions in the audience, and they both kind of work together with this. Number one person saying, please address how raising or lowering federal interest rates will impact this. That's number one. And number 2, which is the big one, because you've got Ellen Brown running around talking about I know I don't want to be mean, but it's a real struggle because it's this constant chronic. And at this point in time, it's almost like she's intentionally getting it wrong, where she doesn't understand how public debt works. But whatever. There's this whole idea of a national infrastructure bank. I know other people that are MMT adjacent really are pushing for this stuff. Warren will tell you flat out why. You're just adding another layer in this. You
don't need a national infrastructure bank. That's the truth. You're just adding another thing that just isn't necessary on top of this. Well, you can just fund the fucker. Fund the fucker. I don't know what her problem is. I really don't understand. Let's add another layer, and we need another one, and here we'll put this one in here too. So it has to bounce between everything before anything can get done. It's dumb. It's dumb. You don't need it. It's a waste. It's inefficient. It's a waste. It's just dumb. I can't believe that you can write 300, 400, 500-page books on something this idiotic. We need a middleman, or the currency issuer will die. That's like God needs a middleman. That's why Robert Tilton that's why the 700 Club and Pat Robertson are here. God needs a middleman to create life. It
is ridiculous, but it has got a lot. Hold on, the sad thing. It has got a lot of energy. Now, look, I'm all for local banks. I have no problem with local banking and public local banks and trying to mitigate some of the damage that the lack of actual, overall spend. I have no problem with community banks. I have no problem with co-ops and things like that at all. What I do have a problem with is conflating the idea of who the currency issuer is and what the role of the currency issuer is. Raul Carrillo had a great point. They were coming to him and they were asking, well, what about this thing Ellen Brown said? What about this thing? What if, all this stuff? And Raul said, hey, listen, I'm all for local banks, man. He supports local local public banks in New York City. He's actually fighting for that as well. But what he said point blank was, hey, listen, Congress can do this straight away. You don't need to pray through a mediary. God will give you your blessing straightforward. Why in the world would you add another layer here and delay life-saving, support? And it is infuriating because everything, well, we can create a network of public banks to do this. Why? Warren said, this is what Warren said to me, and this is really important, folks. If you understand this, it's going to take you a long way. Bottom line is banks, all banks, even the ones you hate, even the ones Lee Camp talks about being banksters and blah blah blah, all those banks are public purpose banks. The problem is that they have been allowed to be deregulated and they've run amok. It's got nothing to do with what they could be or are. Because if Congress has the power to actually create quote unquote public banks, then Congress has the ability to say to banks, as Warren says in his banking proposals, banks, you will do this and only this, and you will do it this way. That's in their purview. That is exactly what Congress's role is. Yeah. So if you tell banks, there is no such. Anyway, fill in the blank there, man, please, because
it's what Warren said. You simply go to the banks. Congress simply tells the banks, you are allowed to do X and nothing else. That's it. In my words, it's you make banking boring.
Yep.
Again, you make banking boring again. That's the end of it. Banking should not be a luxurious, glamorous, profession like you see, like sports agents, or Hollywood producer or something like that.
Absolutely not.
It shouldn't. It should be this guy. I don't know if you've ever watched Monty Python's Flying Circus, the actual TV shows, but you see the chartered accountants. They're wearing the little derbies, and they all dress the same. They have the gray tie. They all look the same. They're wearing the same boring suits. And they had a sketch called "The Dull Life of a City Stockbroker." And he carries his umbrella and his derby, and he's just a boring, droll guy. And then they had one where the chartered accountant wanted a new profession. He wanted to be a lion tamer. Okay, and he said the reason why is because chartered accountancy is boring. It's dull and awful and drab and boring and tedious, and that's what fucking banking should be. A banker should never be able to get laid.
Did you see?
That's what banking should be. Banking should be so boring that a bank manager could never have any hope of getting laid because he's wearing leisure suits. You understand me? That's why right there.
Did you ever see the movie Wolf of Wall Street?
I refuse to watch that. I absolutely refuse to watch that.
Let me tell you about Wolf of Wall Street for a moment, okay? At the very beginning sketches, right? Leonardo DiCaprio's a nobody. He's walking in there and he's talking with what's his name? My God, I can see his face now. It's driving me crazy. Oh God, man. Anyway, he's talking to one of the guys. He's a big star, and guy does the Lincoln commercials. But anyway, he's sitting there talking to him, and he's finding out that banking can be fun. Banking was always boring before. Nobody did anything. And all of a sudden they created these things. And then all of a sudden banking got exciting. And, it was in that moment that like shit went all, completely amok. And I think that Matthew McConaughey, damn it, I was wondering who anyway, but the idea though is that you saw it in real time. They're all sitting there literally like, twiddling their thumbs and hanging out. Then all of a sudden he's like, hey, let me make your wife happy, man. You buy this and she's going to be like, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they're like, and they're all surrounding him like, listen, what did he just say? And then all of a sudden, bam, they were all of a sudden selling penny stocks and garbage this and garbage that. And the whole investment world just went up, and they made it. I mean, it was obviously a caricature of things, but a lot of people said it was pretty close to the way it happened. The Big Short had some similar kind of connotations as they talked about history as well. I mean, the fact is that banking should be fucking boring. It should be
very boring. Yeah.
Instead of the unemployment office being drab, banking should be freaking drab. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it should be very boring. It should be very hard for a bank manager to get laid. Okay. He should have just as much trouble as I would finding a date. Okay. He should literally, he should He should not be wearing a Rolex. All right? I'm sorry. He should not be wearing Armani suits. He should not be driving Porsches. All right? It should not be a choice profession. All right? And the way that we deal with this is to simply go to the banks that already exist, and you say, you're allowed to do this and nothing else. You know, what do we mean by that? Basically, you're allowed to operate the payment system, and you're allowed to make loans to customers who meet creditworthy standards. And that's it. You're not allowed to deal in derivatives. You're not allowed to, make tranches, pack up mortgage loans and trade them on Wall Street. Go fuck yourself. You're not allowed to do that anymore. End of story. And then all of a sudden you don't have a problem with bankers. Right? That's the way
Absolutely.
it works.
All right. So I was trying to find this clip. It's not going to happen the way I had hoped. So
What, The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah,
I won't watch it. I'll just put my head down like this.
Well,
I will. I did watch The Big Short though, and though it's not 100% on the money, it's still good entertainment. They presented it in a really entertaining way though. Okay, right. but fuck, I mean, if they would have presented the full
context,
the full thing, if they would have presented the full story, the way it really went down, in the same manner, man, that would have been one fantastic film. I mean, but they just, there's just some things that just were too not realistic about it. And then there's other things that are realistic. And then there's some Hollywood drama that has to be added to it, But it was an okay film. But I won't watch Wolf of Wall Street at all. Now, the original Wall Street with Michael Douglas, with the Gordon Gekko thing, yeah, I watched that. I own that, but it's a different thing entirely. But Wolf of Wall Street, I won't. No, I'm not gonna watch it. So I won't watch the clip. Don't try it. I just feel like that.
You must have seen
there's a Milton Friedman. No.
All right. Well, look, we are over midnight. We're into Saturday morning. And East Coast.
I'm not. I'm still in the past.
Well, you. This was wonderful, man. It was good to have you back, and I'm hoping we can find a way to do this again soon because this is, I feel like I'm forever tied to you, brother. You're good people, and you make me feel like a king. I love doing this with you. This is the best. This is the best.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it more than you'll ever know, and I've kind of felt like, I saw Rick Allen from Def Leppard, So I'm sitting there watching this thing where he's talking about how he had lived the rock star lifestyle and how, he was sitting there driving in traffic and he was really pissed off and he was in this Corvette and this guy wouldn't let him over. So he flew up by him. And when he did, he rolled his vet. And what happened is that the car, what do you call it? The seatbelt cut his arm off. Literally, his arm stayed in the car. He flew out the sunroof. And, his body went into like shock and he felt no pain at the time. Mm-hmm. And after a while, he just didn't even realize his arm was missing. And then finally the shit hit the fan and he realized it. And it's like, when we're apart, I didn't realize, but it's like, damn, where's my arm? I mean, where am I? Hi, man, I can't even eat. It's like, I can't get an arm up there. I'm trying to get a shoulder up there. It's like having a filet mignon in front of you and you can't. So I really missed you, brother. I'm glad we got this chance to get back on here, and it was a long one, but hopefully we can do it again soon, man, because I really miss you, brother.
Thank you. I hope that I can be in a position where I can do this.
Absolutely.
It would be nice to do regular shows that are scheduled. I just hope that I have a means to even do them.
Well, let's talk about that for a second before we go here. Folks, Ellis has been doing this for free for almost a decade. It'd be nice to find a way to give back to Ellis. And, I've been in dire shape here to take care of my family. But Ellis is he's got the same needs I do in a different way. So if you guys find a way to help Ellis out, you'd be doing a solid for a good guy here.
Yes.
I just put that out.
I didn't want. That's kind of. Now you've got me on the discombobulating thing. Okay. No, I came on here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I came on here tonight because I just happened to shoot Steve a text and I said, "Hey, you going live tonight?" And he said, "What? You think about doing joining in a surprise?" And I said, "Yeah, might as well. Go out with guns blazing." And that's why I'm here, not here to panhandle for help. That's not, and I hope that's not what you meant by that.
No, not at all, man.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, though, that
I haven't taken a dime in 7 years. I wasn't going to, I would write a book or something if I were.
Well, let's be fair. What I'm trying to say is we need people saying, Ellis, we want you back. We need to hear that, like, dun, 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 dun. Have Queen in the background. Buddy, you're
yeah. Well, I'm no Freddie Mercury or anything.
Well, you look like
him. No, I don't. And no, I don't. But yeah, I would like to do. It would be nice to do regular scheduled things, especially in a professional manner, with, under a banner of RP. RP going solid and strong as a corporation and whatnot, and becoming the big time, hitting the big time. It'd be nice to be doing this as live media, as recorded media and stuff, and doing documentaries and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if I'll be in a position where I even be able to have an internet connection to do it, let alone a roof. So
we'll work through it, brother. We'll work through it.
Well, you work through it.
No, we'll work through it. You've got a gang here that loves Ellis. We'll find a way to make it work. Trust me.
I'm the big short. Believe me, I am short, and I am the big short. I am in the big short now.
All right. Well, look, I'm with that note. It's 10 after midnight here, and I'm going to hit the hay, folks. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us. And Ellis and I are going to do this as often as we can. And we're all behind the scenes, even though you don't see it. We're talking frequently about ways that we can find to, we both recognize we enjoy working together, and we both enjoy working with you all, and we recognize the feedback that you enjoy working with us. So we're hoping that we'll be able to find a way to take that even further. To the public purpose of Real Progressives has been nonstop the same thing. Ellis has been a huge part of that message, obviously. And we want to make sure that we can grow this so that we can actually step out and not be worried about whether the man fires us tomorrow or not. It means if you all can find a way to become monthly patrons to Real Progressives, these are opportunities that we can do to be able to get the equipment, to be able to find a way to get jobs for people, man. Make this like career level work. Even if it's just small potatoes, it's something. Right now, we need your help. So end of the year, we're trying to become 501c3. I know we've said this for a while, but it's a lot of work, man. If you only knew how much work it is, and with every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinking they can build a better mousetrap and leaving in the middle of things, we're constantly having to retrench, start over. But we're still moving, and we've got a really, really good team. What you don't see on camera, beneath the surface, we've got a really, really solid team. I wish that I could introduce you to all the volunteers that help to make this place work. But trust me when I say this, there are many, many people that show up every day with their jersey on, and they're ready to put the work in, and they're not just sitting there. They're literally working. So folks, please stick with us. We mean to do business. We have not quit, and we're here to stay, man. We're here to stay. All right, brother. Thank you for everything you do, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Steve.
Have a good night. Thank you all. Yep. Bye-bye.